This is Unit 20 percentages, and it's the first 3 pages of 20.1 equivalent percentages, and it covers questions 1 to 5. So let's start with concept corner, which I've already filled in. And I've said a percentage can also be represented as a fraction out of 100. Percentages can also be converted into fractions. Sometimes these can be simplified. And I've shown here 36%. I've rewritten it as 36 out of 100. And then what I've done is I've divided the top and the bottom by 4 to make it a fraction in its lowest possible form, in its simplest form. And I've done the same here. The 75% means 75 out of 100, because percent means out of 100. And then I've divided top and bottom by 25 to get 3/4. This is one I would expect you to know. I'd expect you to know that 75% is 3/4. Percentages can also be converted into decimals. There's the little bit I forgot. That was silly of me, wasn't it? So if I want to convert them into decimals, 17% as a fraction is 17 out of 100, which is 0.17. 0.05 is 5 out of 100, which is 5%. And you can see to get from a percentage to a decimal, we have effectively divided the number by 100. To get from a decimal to a percentage, we have effectively multiplied by 100. So let's look at the first question. And you'll notice I've written my percentage, my decimal converter down here, just to keep me, just to remind me so I feel a bit more confident when I do this. So 50%, well, to get it to a decimal, I divide 50 by 100 and I get 0.5. I've got a decimal here of 0.25, so I times by 100 and I get 25%. 36%, 0.36, because I've divided. Here I've got the decimal, so I multiply it by 100, I get 8%. 2%, 0.02. Be careful with ones like these. It's very easy to make a mistake and divide it by 10 when you should be dividing by 100. 12.5%. Well, that's like having 12.5 over 100, which is nothing we'd really write in real life. Then I'll double it up and make it 24 out of 200. 25 out of 200. Now, if I divide 25 into 200, 25 goes 8 times. This one is 1/8. This one is, I would suggest, we learn. Because again, that will be asked. This one's a bit harder. So if I time, it's a little bit harder because we've got more zeros here. Times that by 100, I get 0.23%, so a tiny percentage. This one, this number's bigger than 1, so it's bigger than 100%, so divide that by 100 and I get 3.2. 14.1 times by 100, multiplied by 100, should I say? 1,410. So I've got to be carried away and add an extra 0 on there. Okay, so Gemma thinks that 70% is 0.07. Gemma is wrong. Explain the mistake she has made. Well, I'm going to actually do the conversion, and then it'll allow me to, so 70%, if I divide that by 100, I get 0.70. So 70% equals 0.7. So I would say she has divided by 1,000, not 100. But if you wrote the answer, it should be 0.7. You at least understand what she should have got.